Hi everyone, Anya here. In today's class, we're going to be working on Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. Utthita in Sanskrit means extended, Hasta means hand, and Padangusthasana means big toe asana. So in easy translation, we can just call this pose extended hand to the big toe, standing position. Okay, so in today's class, we need just a block. And make sure that your surface that you're going to be practicing on is not too slippery. So you need a bit more grip because we're going to be working on the balance. So let's start. Have your feet whatever feel comfortable, just the way that you usually stand. And then as you're here, start paying attention to your toes. Make sure that your feet are not spinning out. Usually when we're standing, we don't really pay much attention to how our feet are positioned. So make sure that in this case, the feet are actually facing neutrally. We're going to grab the block, and this is probably the only time that you're going to be using it. Slide the block in between your thighs. And as you're squeezing the block in between your thighs, you're not going to be squeezing just from inner thighs. You're going to be also squeezing from a little bit of inner rotation. So you want to make sure that that spin of the inner thighs is moving out and the quads are moving to the inside. This is going to give you a space in the lower back, so you're not putting too much pressure on SI joint, but at the same time, you're not putting too much strain on the hip flexor, the psoas. So from here, right away, shift away to your heels also. So we're looking for the flexion in the feet. That's going to engage the shins and engage the quads instead of locking the knees. And as a matter of fact, try to not go into full hyperextension in here. Try to actually focus on activating the muscles instead of the joints. As we here, we're also going to be engaging the hip points up. So the hips are going to be moving towards the frontal ribs, trying to elongate the belly up. So we want to make sure the belly is elongated and slightly in. That's going to also engage the yogic lock, which is the pelvic floor, Mula Bandha, and the lower abdominal lock, Uddiyana Bandha. And those locks have to be engaged for the entire practice. That squeeze of the block, it's not only going to help you activate those bandhas, but at the same time, it's going to give you the engagement of the legs that you're going to require to keep the balance in the pose. From that, the most essential thing that I want you guys to remember is that there is a pretty deep connection between the rib cage and the hamstrings. And for that reason, we're going to be making sure that our rib cage is nicely spread and it's elongated up. So the belly has to be consistently lifting up. It's not just the engagement of the Uddiyana Bandha, it's also the lift in the frontal ribs. So you're looking at the full, nice, straight frontal superficial line and the back superficial line. Okay, let's remember that squeeze of the block and let's put the block to the side. Okay, let's from here turn sideways, check the feet. So as we're here, we're going to be looking always for the straight line in the torso and in the legs. Don't pay attention too much into that lifted leg. This is why we're doing this program, this video, is to correct the idea of that extension that we usually look for. I'm not really good in pretending, but this is pretty much what Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana looks most of the time, right? We're focusing too much on the leg. We're not focusing on the most important part of the pose. So what is the important part of the pose? Relax the shoulders. We're gonna find that squeeze in the thighs. And then from here, start shifting the weight to your left leg. Again, the flexion of the feet, the heel presses down. And we're gonna start lifting the right knee up. Try to kick the right knee as high up as you can with the demi-point position of the foot. So no flexion, not pointing, but the demi-point position, which means the toes are pretty active. So it's almost like you're trying to kick the knee. It's like a front kick. Now squeeze the heel towards the glute and really try to lift the belly up. Now, as the knee is squeezing up and the thigh is lifting up, you want to try to squeeze the thigh as close to the belly as you can. So there's this compression, consistent compression that you're going to be looking for in between the thigh and the belly. Now from here, let's bring attention for a second into the pelvis. Try to lift the opposite hip up. So the hip of the standing leg is actually going to be elevated, and the hip of that lifted knee is going to be dropping down. This is going to keep the spine evenly elongated, and at the same time it's going to be obviously keeping the hips positioned neutrally. Now, that could allow the knee to go a little bit lower. That's totally fine. It just depends how the hips are open and how the hamstring is open. You can use both hands trying to lift the knee up. Keep the demi-point position because demi-point position activates foot, ankle, shin, and quad. Now from here, let's slide both hands underneath the leg. Keep lifting the chest. So lifting the chest is more important than straightening the leg, being honest. This is the point of this video. And then lift the knee a little bit higher up. Now from there, left hand is going to be holding the right leg. But I'm losing the balance. The right hand is going to be hooking towards the big toe. Now, either stay here and just continuously try to lift that knee up, or try to squeeze the thigh towards the chest or towards the belly, or try to lift the foot up. See how high you can lift the foot. Now, keep the flexion at this point. Demi-point position kind of works a little bit harder. So get into the flexion and then see how deeply you can squeeze the knee towards the chest. From there, start lifting the heel up. So focus on the flexion of the foot as you're lifting your heel up. See how high you can go. Make sure you're not pulling the shoulder forward. So you're consistently looking in that nice elongated frontal chest line and the back. And then from here, just final chair on top of the pie. Try to point the toe forward. Nice big inhale in here. Bend the knee. Raise it down. Shake it off. Okay, let's try the other side. So again, standing on the one leg, lifting the other knee. Demi-point position, so it's that front kick, pretty strong leg. Relax your hips, left hip down, right hip up, lift the chest. And then from here, right away, you can try to hook the big toe. Now, squeeze the knee up, squeeze the thigh towards the chest, so lots of compression in between. And then see if you can lift the leg up. Point the foot. Now, we have sometimes, and it happens a lot, we have a tendency for the standing leg to be bent. There's collapsing moment in that standing leg. To fix it, bring more weight into the standing heel, lift the knee. Don't lock the knee, don't push it back into hyperflexion. Just lift the knee, lift the hip, and engage the quad. And then work with the left or elongation of the front leg. Nice big inhale here. Rebend the knee, squeeze it in, and release it down. And that's our Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. Thank you for watching. Namaste.